Folks, I feel like video game reviewers catch a lot of flack these days. A lot of people say they don't know how to play video games, they're not good, they don't know what they're talking about. Listen, I'm not going to be weighing in on this highly contentious subject, but something I did want to talk about is, do video game reviewers and video game journalists, do they understand fighting games? So obviously, I'm kind of on the more hardcore side of fighting games. I play in tournaments and stuff. So the things that I value in terms of like what makes a fighting game good, does that connect at all with what video game reviewers are valuing and what's leading them to give a game a high score? So what I've done is I've assembled the 10 highest reviewed fighting games of all time. This is based on Metacritic score, and I'm going to be going through each one and talking about, do I think they deserve such a high score, or did the reviewers miss the mark? And just to let you know, I am going to be combining some games, so anything where it's just like an updated version, I'm treating as the same game. So like Street Fighter 4 and Super Street Fighter 4 are combined. I'm just going to pick whichever one got the higher score. And then anything that's like a numerical sequel, so like Tekken 3 versus Tekken 4, I'm going to keep those separate, and they're going to each get their own slot on the list. But with that, what do you say we jump in and start out looking at the top 10 highest reviewed fighting games of all time? But guys, real quick, if you guys want to do me a huge favor, I would really appreciate it if you could take this second to scroll down and hit the like button on the video. It legitimately helps me out a huge amount, gets my video shown to more people, so I would really appreciate it if you could do that, and subscribe if you're not already, so that you can see all my videos when they come out and you don't rely on YouTube deciding whether they want to show it to you on the algorithm or not. You can just see them all and not even worry about it. So yeah, I would really appreciate it. Just a little ask from me to you. But with that, let's get into the list. So the first one we're going to look at here, this is pretty interesting. It's going to be Dead or Alive 2 Hardcore. Yes, this is the 10th highest rated fighting game of all time, with a 91 average on Metacritic. So I found this pretty interesting. You know, not like I'm trying to say it's a bad game. I think like most Dead or Alives, you know, solid little 3D fighter, some interesting mechanics that are pretty different from other fighting games. But why this one of all the Dead or Alives? This is the highest rated Dead or Alive game on average, and it's number 10 highest rated fighting game of all time. So why is this one so high? So I looked into the reviews, and my leading theory is that this game came out only a few months after the release of the PS2. So I think definitely reviewers were like wanting a new PS2 fighting game on their new console, and they were wanting a game that would utilize the graphical capabilities of the PS2, because when you read the reviews, the graphics are all they're talking about. Like GameSpot, for example, they said it looks amazing, the animation is smooth, and the character models really stand out. The fighters look extremely smooth. Little things like clothes, hair, and tassels move appropriately. So people were really gushing about the look of the game, and I think that definitely led to people rating the game very highly. They were very impressed with the way that it looked at the time. So I think that's the main reason why this one ended up so high. But yeah, pretty interesting result here for the Dead or Alive series. Number 10 with a 91. All right, next up at number 9, and this has an average score of 92, is going to be Super Smash Bros. For Wii U, or Smash 4 as most people call it. So I think it makes sense that the Smash games review very well. You know, I think that they have very good graphics considering the platform they're coming out on. They're very fun to play with friends. Obviously, they have a lot of content to unlock. Usually they have a ton of characters, which reviewers tend to value high roster counts. So generally not surprising, I think, to see Smash for Wii U up here. One thing that I did find surprising was that Smash Ultimate was not on the list. I was like, why is Smash Ultimate lower rated than Smash Wii U? But it's actually not. It's higher rated. Smash Ultimate has a 93, but they didn't classify it as a fighting game for whatever reason. So Smash 4 shows up on the Metacritic top fighting games, but Smash Ultimate does not. But, you know, Smash Ultimate is barely above Smash 4 with a 93, so I'm just going to lump them here together, and they're pretty similar games. Smash Ultimate is basically just like the upgraded advanced version with all the old returning characters and some improved mechanics. But anyway, yeah, you know, Smash 4, very solid Smash game. I think it totally makes sense that reviewers loved this one. I'm not going to weigh in on whether I think Smash is a fighting game or not. That's for a different video, but it's definitely showing up here at number 9 on the list. And of course, we can't talk about the Smash games without including Smash Melee, so this is going to come in at number 8 on the list, and this also had a 92 average on Metacritic, so Smash Ultimate 1 point higher average than Smash Melee, which I don't know if that's that surprising or not. Smash Ultimate has way more characters, but obviously Melee was a lot more ahead of its time, coming out so long ago and yet still being so fun and amazing to play. And I think we can really see the kinds of things that the casual gamer values, and let's be honest, most reviewers are casual gamers when it comes to fighting games. They're not hardcore, they're not usually playing that much ranked, and they're not going to tournaments or anything, so they value these casual features like unlockables, lots of single player content, story modes, secrets, all these types of things, and Smash Melee has so many of these, especially when we consider that this came out over 20 years ago. This game was absolutely incredible for the time, and you could just play it for hundreds of hours and still not see everything the game had to offer. So again, I think this totally belongs on the list and makes perfect sense coming in at number 8. All right, next up, speaking of games that are kind of known for having a lot of single-player content, also with a 92 average on Metacritic is going to be Soulcalibur 2. Guys, this game was so crazy back in the day, man. They had Weapon Master mode. They had like 10 unlockable unique weapons for every single character. So much replayability, so much stuff to do even when you're not playing multiplayer. So yeah, I thought this game was really amazing for the time. Plus, it was kind of a shame that some of these characters were console exclusive. Like, you could only play Link on GameCube, Heihachi on PS2, and Spawn on Xbox. But it also kind of added a little bit of fun. You know, you would be really proud of whatever system you had. You'd be like, yes, I get to play as Link, or I get to play as Heihachi. Like, that was a cool little bonus. And overall, I thought the game was really beautiful, really fun to play, and really, really tight controls, fast, exciting gameplay, and tons of single-player content, which I think we're starting to see that single-player content really, really matters to these reviewers, and you're going to see even more of that further down the list. But yeah, Soulcalibur 2 coming in number 7. Next up, and I think this one might be like the most left field pick on the list so far, coming in at number 6, we're going to have Street Fighter Alpha 3. So this is one of the highest rated Street Fighter games of all time. We're specifically looking at the PlayStation 1 port. So why was this version so beloved? Alpha 3, Alpha 2 is like nowhere near here. And a big part of it is going to be the single-player modes. So this game's single-player on the PS1 version was actually pretty sick. So obviously we had arcade mode and stuff like that everyone would be used to. But we also had the World Tour mode, which was pretty hype. It let you sort of use RPG elements to improve your character and get stronger, and there were all these secret characters like the dolls, Junie and Julie and stuff like that. So there was a lot going on in this mode and in this game in general, and I just think that this is yet another example of how single-player modes really do matter for fighting games, at least for the average consumer who's not ultra hardcore like some of us out there. Like, this really, really matters, and is one of the reasons why this version of Street Fighter Alpha 3, the console version, is so well remembered and beloved to this day. So definitely check out Alpha 3 for console, for PS1 and Dreamcast. I think it's a very similar version on both of those. Check it out. It's definitely worth it. All right, I promise this is the last Smash game. It seems like this list is kind of getting dominated by Smash, but here at number 5, we've got Super Smash Bros. Brawl, obviously for the Wii. So reviewers definitely praise some of the expected things about this game. The graphics, I think the graphics in Brawl are still pretty impressive. They kind of made the game a little bit more detailed, a little bit more, dare I say, realistic. It sounds like a crazy thing to say about such a cartoony game, but the characters were definitely like more detailed. And a big thing that obviously everybody liked was the Subspace Emissary, the single-player mode for this game. One of the longest and deepest single-player experiences that's been in any Smash game, or even any fighting game in general. So yeah, single-player, once again, proving to be the secret to getting high review scores for a fighting game, and Smash Brawl definitely proves that, I think. You know, it had some weirdness, like tripping, like Meta Knight, you know, maybe hurt the game a little bit at high levels, but for the casual consumer, I think this game really, really delivered. All right, so coming in at number 4, This is kind of an interesting one, I thought. It's going to be Virtua Fighter 4. So this game got really, really glowing reviews, and it's for a pretty interesting reason, I think. So one thing you'll note is that this game doesn't really have like a super rich single player mode like some of the other games we've looked at. It has, you know, no super long story mode. It's got arcade mode and a couple other extras, but that's about it. So what did the reviewers really love about this? So obviously the graphics were really, really good for the time. The controls in Virtua Fighter generally, I think, feel good. The game feels very responsive. Something I thought was interesting is that reviewers praised the fact that it was a 3-button game, just punch, kick, and guard. They had actually removed sort of the evasion button that was in Virtua Fighter 3. So some of the reviewers liked that the game was simple. It felt like you could pick it up and play it. Obviously, Virtua Fighter is known for being a very difficult series, but for these casual players who are reviewing fighting games, if there's only 3 buttons, you don't have to learn all 6 of your normal attack buttons. It feels like you can get up and go in the game much faster. So I think this is an interesting example of a game that is really, really hard at a high level. To play this game at a tournament level is extremely difficult. There's so much to learn and so many option selects and super complicated techniques, but for a casual gamer, they can pick up and play in seconds and be pressing the buttons and having fun. So I thought that was really interesting. There's also some weird stuff in the game, like you can train an AI to fight based on your play style, which some reviewers called that out as a cool feature. Some reviewers also said that the actual AI that you fight against in arcade mode felt really fun to play against, which I found interesting. It's not something we talk about too much anymore, like whether we can make the AI for fighting games fun. I think it's kind of just assumed that AI is going to suck and the real experience is playing against real people. But I thought it was interesting that reviewers did like the AI in this game. Obviously, this game didn't have online play, so I imagine for a lot of people that was kind of the main way they were playing it, is local multiplayer and against the AI. But yeah, Virtua Fighter 4, the highest rated Virtua Fighter game ever, and number 4 highest rated fighting game of all time with a Metascore of 94. All right, we're really getting into the big boys now. We're in the top 3 highest rated fighting games of all time. And number 3 is going to be Street Fighter 4. So the highest reviewed version of Street Fighter 4 was actually the original version, or vanilla as we call it, from 2009, PS3, and 360. And I think it makes sense why people were so obsessed with this game, why this game reviewed so well and sold so well. It was the return of so many classic characters that we loved from our childhood that were not present in Street Fighter 3, you know, like Blanca, E Honda, Sagat, all these guys. So people loved that. They loved the graphics. You know, the graphics maybe don't hold up so well anymore. The characters are definitely kind of big and blocky and weird looking. But for the time, I think it was definitely impressive. And the online play really stood out to people. So obviously this was delay-based netcode, which nowadays we're more in favor of rollback netcode. It tends to play better. But for the time, this was generally a better online experience than anyone was used to. People got really into ranking up. They got into collecting all the titles. This is another game where there's not that much single-player content. You know, it's pretty much just like arcade mode, survival mode. But they made it fun, you know, they made you want to beat the trials with all your characters to get those titles, beat arcade mode, see your character's ending, get the title for that. So people got a lot of enjoyment out of this game, both offline and online, and I think this is really going to go down in history as one of the most important fighting games to ever come out, just in terms of how many people played it and loved it. It was crazy how big this game is. All right, number 2 now is going to be Tekken 3. So this game has a 96 out of 100 average review. I mean, man, people love this game, and I think it makes a lot of sense. So it was pretty amazing to reviewers at the time that not only was this a home port of a fighting game that was as good as the arcade version, you know, a lot of home ports were a little bit downgraded, like Street Fighter and Mortal Kombat, the home ports were not as graphically impressive as arcade, but Tekken 3, the home port was like better than arcade, to be honest, because they had all these extra modes, they had single player bonus features like that weird side-scrolling mode and like all this crazy stuff. So many characters. The reviewers really praised how many characters were in the game. How great the game looked was very highly praised. The fact that every character had like 100 move long move list. That was really impressive. Everyone had their 10-hit combos as well. So all these things really blew people away for the time. And even though this is, again, a game where it's not exactly like Soulcalibur 2 or Smash Brothers in terms of single-player features, but it had enough to keep people coming back. And I think for the time period, this was a really, really mind-blowing experience, and generally remembered as kind of the most impressive Tekken game for the time. It's kind of like the Street Fighter 2 of Tekken is Tekken 3. At least that's how I see it. So yeah, number 2 fighting game of all time, Tekken 3. All right, now we're getting into number 1 on the list, and this was with a 98 average. So many people gave this game a perfect score. And it's going to be Soulcalibur 1 for the Dreamcast. So, yeah, this game definitely holds up. I think it might be surprising a little bit that Soulcalibur 1 beat Soulcalibur 2, which kind of had a few more features, more characters and stuff. But I just think if we look at the graphics for the time, I mean, the graphics were so incredible for Soulcalibur 1 on the Dreamcast, and it was essentially a perfect arcade port, which, as I was saying in the old days, it was kind of impressive to get a home port that was like just as beautiful and just as good as the arcade version. So definitely that, combined with some pretty good single player features, a really, really fun battle system, another super fast, exciting game. Every character plays so different because they've all got these different weapons. This game was pretty mind-blowing for the time, and that's going to end up as the number 1 highest reviewed fighting game of all time. But what do you guys think? Do you think these reviewers got it right? Do you think they were way off base? There's some notable games that aren't here. Marvel vs. Capcom 2 barely missed the top 10. I think it was roughly number 11. It was in the low 90s. So maybe that one's a little bit surprising. But yeah, I think overall they did pretty good. But let me know down in the comments, did you like this video? Would you like to see more stuff like this? Would you like to see more revisiting of some of these old games? I'd love to hear what you have to say. But with that, we're going to end the video. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I will see you in the next one. Bye, everybody.